This time on Ask Rad Brad, we talk about shieldless bearings and how to get started in skateboarding. Let's get into it. Welcome back to Rad Brad Video, the channel where you can learn something new about skateboarding 3 times a week. Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday we take a look at something in the skateboarding world and we answer your questions on this series, Ask Rad Brad. I've got 3 of them for you today. First one is from Chris Burke, who asks, are you a fan of Brandon Bball? A lot of people have been asking me about him because I mentioned him about a month ago in a video because he named a trick wrong. And so a lot of people thought I was calling him out or I was, thought he sucked or something. But I think Brandon Bball's awesome. The reason why I saw his Instagram post is because I follow him, because I think he's really good. So definitely don't have any problem with him. I think his skating is awesome because he takes really technical stuff, but he does it really high and really fast. He's not barely rolling and doing stuff on curbs, He's doing it really legit. So I think he's awesome, and I don't have any problem with him or his skating. All right. Second question from Will Matthews. Do Bronson raw shieldless bearings work, or does dirt and moisture get in and make them a complete downgrade from other bearings like Bone Swiss or Reds? So I haven't tried them before, but I thought I would take a look at their website and go through their technology and stuff and try to get a basic idea of how it works and if it's a good idea. And the first thing off the bat that I wanted to point out is that they're actually designed from scratch for skateboarding, and you can't say that for a lot of brands. The only other one I can think of is Oust. Every other brand's bearings are tested on skateboarding, but you see they're rated by their ABEC rating. It's got nothing to do with skateboarding. Oust, for example, theirs are rated for how much side impact. So if you land in a blunt, like your bearing's getting hit this way, how much of that can it take? All that kind of stuff, where it's designed specifically for the forces and impacts of skateboarding. And these Bronson bearings are designed for skateboarding, so that's a good sign right off the bat. But I want to take a look at how these work and see if it actually makes any sense. So the thing is, they're not just bearings with the shields pre-popped off. They are specifically designed to be used without shields. And the way that I understood it after I read everything is that it's kind of like cooking pans. So your basic bearing that you'd get is kind of like a stainless steel pan where you have to put a bunch of oil in the bottom to fry something up so it doesn't stick, right? It's full of oil to keep things moving around. But these Bronson ones, they have a coating on them. I think it's like a tungsten-based coating. And I think of that as like a non-stick pan. So you don't necessarily have to spray it. There's no oil in it or anything. It's slippery all the time. And I think that's kind of how it works. So yes, there's no shield on it, but that's because it doesn't have to keep anything in. You don't pop it off and then all the grease drains out, So I think that makes a lot of sense. So yes, dirt and dust can fly right in, but it can also fly right back out. And I think that makes a lot of sense. They made the racetrack for where all the balls are deeper so that they don't pop out as easy. It does seem like they put a lot of effort into thinking it through and designing how they will actually work. So I think that's a good thing. But I did notice a couple things that I didn't like the sound of quite as much. The first is the sound. Literally, they talk about how they sound really fast and how it's got the best sound and it's designed for people who already skate without shields because they like the noise of it. And when it's about how it sounds versus how it performs, that kind of comes across to me more like a gimmick than it would be as something that's just genuinely better. So is it actually better technology, or does it just sound really cool and they did what they could to work with that? I don't know. The other thing that I noticed is that they make regular bearings with shields and oil. So if their new technology that they came up with is, if it's really better, why aren't they going all in on it? Why are they still making regular bearings? And there's potentially good answers to that. Could be a price point thing. They want to cover all the bases. They want to be able to cover people who aren't comfortable with the exposed balls on it. A lot of other stuff like that that could potentially be really good answers. So I don't know for sure. Like I said, I haven't tried them, but as I look through it all, I don't see anything that would stop me from trying them out. They do seem like they are pretty smartly designed, and they seem like they would work well. The only thing that is a big downgrade is the maintenance. So you can take a regular bearing, pop the shield off, and you can clean it out. I have a video about cleaning bearings right here and why you should never use WD-40. But how do you do that with one that has coating? You can't replace the coating at home, obviously. So how would you fix them up? And for most people, including myself, when your bearings start to get all crusty, you just toss them. I could go to the store and I could buy a solvent, I could buy bearing cream and all that, or I could just buy some new bearings. So if you're like me and you just go through bearings and you don't worry about trying to maintain them, I think that these are probably a pretty good idea. and I would be willing to try them myself. But if you have tried them, let me know below and let him know what your experiences were with them. The last question is from Robert Rossignol, who says, "Hello, I've grown up with skateboarding games and have always been interested in skateboarding, but have never really tried. Where should I begin to start skating?" Well, welcome to skateboarding. You've made the right choice. So there's a lot of tips that I'd like to give you as a new skateboarder. First is how to pick out a board. You probably have one already since you asked me this a little bit before it's going to air, but if you haven't picked out a board, or if someone else that out there is watching who's just getting started, go to a skate shop and get a legitimate board. It doesn't have to be the most expensive one there, but just get like a decent board. I would suggest maybe 8-inch wide, 52 millimeter wheels or so. They'll help you out with trucks and all that kind of stuff, but just start with a pretty good board that you can work with and that is upgradable. If you go to like Walmart or something, it's all garbage. In a couple of weeks, you'll have to just throw the whole thing away. You can't upgrade parts as you go. So that's what I would do as far as the board is concerned. But the first thing you're going to want to do, what most people want to do, what I did when I first got a board, first thing you're going to want to do is learn how to ollie, and that's probably not the best move. So the first thing you should do when you get a board is just learn how to ride around on it. It's a skateboard. It's designed to be rolled. It's designed to take you places. So get used to riding it, get comfortable with it, learn how to turn on it, learn how to take cracks in the sidewalk without falling off, learn how to go down a little hill and deal with the speed, learn how to slow down and stop, that kind of stuff. Just get comfortable with your board, and that's going to help you start building a foundation. Because if you're trying to learn tricks right away, you're going to be doing them stationary. Let's say you learn how to do a kickflip. This is how I did it. I learned them at the bottom of my steps outside, holding onto the handrail with one hand, this hand, and then my board was halfway in the grass, halfway on the sidewalk. And I would like hold onto it so that I wouldn't lose balance, and I would do the trick and I would land it. Well, now when I wanted to go learn how to do it rolling, I had to learn how to be comfortable rolling. I had to learn how to push as I'm trying to learn how to kickflip. And that's not going to help. So get that foundation first and then start getting into tricks later. One of the other things you might be interested in is skater trainers, which are like these clip-on things for your wheels so that they don't roll. And that way you can do tricks on pavement without worrying about slipping out. It's an option. They didn't exist when I first started, so I can't really tell you how well they work. Some people like them. For me, I'd rather you learn how to be comfortable rolling first and then start doing tricks, and then you can kind of skip that stationary phase anyway. But that's up to you. That is available if that's something you're interested in. But after that, what I would like you to do is learn about 5 tricks in every major category that you can. So flat ground, ollie-based stuff. Ollie, pop, shove it, kickflip, heel flip. Freestyle, try to learn Caspers, truck stands, finger flips, rail stands. And then depending on what other obstacles you have access to, like board slides, nose slides on a rail or a box, learn how to do stuff on a ramp. If you have access to a mini ramp or a quarter pipe, learn how to drop in, learn how to nose stall, learn how to axle stall, learn some basics. If you have a hip or some sort of stuff around where you live, try to do a few basic tricks on all of them. And I think that's a great way to start because that gives you a really wide, really solid foundation with a bunch of different stuff, and that'll help you so much more in the future because it'll help you figure out what you're good at and what you'll enjoy, which is usually the same thing. So for me, I really like to watch super technical street skating, flip in, grind, flip out, manual, all that type of stuff like that. But for me, my balance isn't great. If I tried to do nothing but that, I'd still be learning some basics right now. I'd be slamming my head against the wall trying to do something really simple because it just doesn't naturally flow for me. But something I was good at was freestyle. I could do a freestyle combo, I could do a flip and land it in a Casper and do that kind of stuff, and that worked out better for me. So knowing that that's the case, I could decide to focus on freestyle, or I could decide, hey, forget it, I'm just going to do what I want to look at. Versus what I want to, it's up to you, but you can make a better decision knowing what you're good at and knowing what skateboarding is like in different situations. So the other big thing that helps is having that foundation as far as learning tricks in the future. So if you can do a kickflip off of a curb and you can do a board slide, you can turn sideways and slide this way, you have a lot more experience with how the skateboard moves around and how to react in different situations. And when you're starting to lose control, how to bring it back, that type of stuff. So when you get ready to learn a 360 flip, which is a very difficult trick for anybody, if you try to learn it too soon, it's going to be really hard to keep it. It's going to be really hard to learn it, first of all, and it's going to be really hard. You'll lose it like right away. So if you have that bigger base, you know how the board reacts, you know how to land over a hip and land and roll away and keep your speed, then committing to landing on a 360 flip, not such a big deal. So you actually learn it quicker and you learn it better. And you'll learn it without having bad habits, which is a tough thing to deal with too. You know, if you learn it bad, then you'll have to relearn it later versus learning it solidly from the first time. So just try to do as many different things as you can, but don't push yourself too fast either. Just learn how to enjoy yourself. Do those basic tricks that you've learned, do them in a line. Do them in different places. Try to do them up a curb or down a curb or over a little crack or stuff like that. Try to take them to different places. Try to experience skateboarding in as many different ways as you can, and just let your skill level progress naturally instead of trying to force it too much by forcing yourself to land a trick and move on to the next one right away. I think that's a pretty big mistake. So I hope that helps. There are some more videos right here you can watch and to continue your knowledge in skateboarding, continue your education. You can also tap my logo right here on screen to subscribe, and that way you can keep learning new things about skateboarding 3 times a week. Thanks for watching.